is Srila Prabhupada's Srila Prabhupada's Disappearance Day, the day that
Es el día de desaparición de Srila Prabhupada.
physical plane. Srila Prabhupada never leaves us on the spiritual transcendental plane.
Espiritualmente, Srila Prabhupada nunca nos dejó.
As much as he is with us as much as our consciousness opens up to his presence.
Como Él es nuestra conciencia.
On the spiritual platform,
En la plataforma espiritual, como he dicho muchas veces,
direct perception,
la percepción directa,
logic and direct perception can bring us to a
la lógica y la percepción directa nos puede llevar hasta cierto punto.
Just like an atom.
Pero como un átomo. No podemos ver un átomo.
No, electrons, no. We were talking about this morning.
Los electrones,
Quantum mechanics, pi mesons, subatomic particles. You can't see them. But because we have faith in scientists who have painstakingly, sometimes they get it wrong, but generally speaking, they've studied this for years, they've studied by logic, they've come to these conclusions. But when you come to the spiritual, the transcendental platform, it's even more difficult to perceive by ordinary means. And Srila Prabhupada used to always call this process spiritual science. So of course, whenever we talk about science, there has to be some kind of laboratory testing, some way that things can be verified. And that process is chanting, just like we just did, chanting the holy name of Krishna. You feel the effect above and beyond the effects of, I mean, you can also see gospel chanters, gospel people singing gospel, and they'll be shaking their heads, and and you see even in presidential elections, people going like this. But the difference is the effect is not cumulative. The substance is, the object is different from the substance. So just like if you say water, if you say water, 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 you'll only get more, get more thirsty. And so the word is not identical to the object. But in the case of Krishna, the more you chant, and especially if you follow the formula, there's a formula. Just like for anything, there's a formula. And the more we follow that formula, the better results we get. Just like when I was starting my little science career, I this is completely a beginning speculation. I said H2O. So I took some hydrogen gas and some oxygen gas, and all I got was gas going through the air, and it disappeared. And so then I was like, this was in junior high, so I went to the teacher and I said, well, what's wrong? It has to be in a vacuum at a certain temperature. They said, we're going to do that, but not right now. So later on in the year, they created the vacuum and pumped in oxygen and hydrogen at the proper temperature, and there was water. So the same goes, any kind of science, not only does it require that you have the ingredients for the laboratory test, but also the proper conditions. For chanting Hare Krishna, one of the most important things is that the person who is teaching us the chanting process, that they are spiritually qualified. Just like in the beginning of our movement in New York, when Srila Prabhupada came from India, he would sit in Tompkins Square Park, and then later he went to Montreal, and then from there he went to California. And he would go to what's the name of that park? Golden Gate Park, and he would chant. And he didn't even have these nice instruments we have, mridanga, kartals, but the potency, the sincerity of his chanting. Otherwise, the level of consciousness. When the level of consciousness is very high, then the person who's chanting can influence. And if the person who is listening or the person who's receiving, their consciousness is tuned in, then we can, increase the process. This is technically in our very wonderful, one of our main books, Srimad Bhagavatam, in the very first part, in the 18th chapter, it speaks about this. So there are two ingredients that are necessary for the proper transmission of transcendental sound. One is called Bhagavat Pradhana, a person who knows this science. Bhagavat means Bhagavan, Bhaga is wealth, and Van means that he who possesses. So Bhagavan means that person who possesses the greatest amount of wealth. Or Krishna, the Supreme God. So Bhagavat Pradhana, Pradhana means one who is very well endowed, perfectly endowed. So the person who is perfectly endowed with the understanding of the science of spirituality. And when the other person is shushusha, very intent on listening, on capturing that message, then there is proper transmission. It's not by the sound vibration itself. So just like you can go to especially an esoteric bookstore, and you can get so many books on spirituality, and you can read them, and you may feel something. But to really have the lasting effect, there has to be the proper level of consciousness, and therefore we call our movement Krishna consciousness, which means just like, and we're very, Krishna consciousness means meditation. So many people go to and pay money to learn how to meditate. But I always mention that we already know how to meditate. A young man or a young boy knows how to meditate on a young girl and vice versa. Doesn't require any training. A dog knows how to meditate on food. You just, a few weeks ago, I was visiting my dying sister who died, but she has this dog. I mean, it's amazing. If you have food, that dog can sit there for 20 minutes and just without moving his head 1 centimeter, just totally intent on that food. So meditation, even a dog can do it. But we need to know what to meditate on, how to direct our meditation. And therefore the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is considered to be the highest meditation because it is the greatest outreach made by the Supreme Person. It's like we see outreach programs, all kinds of, I mean, even industrial companies nowadays, they have their outreach program to make their product seem like a friendly product, only probably it poisons the whole environment with all the chemicals they put into it. But they try to make it user-friendly, and nice, and everybody likes it. And or like you see an advertisement for an allopathic drug. This, do you have this? And they show some people dancing in the, clouds and beautiful green grass and trees, and they're all smiling. Yes, see your doctor about this. Of course, if symptoms occur like dizziness, vomiting, partial loss of this, and death, of course, with death, then you probably won't be able to do much about it. Your family members could sue, but they try to make it very wonderful. Put the trees in. So Krishna, he's the origin of everything. He's also the origin of outreach. So his outreach program is that he comes in this form, Lord Chaitanya, and he makes his holy name available to everyone, and anyone. I was just mentioning in the previous program that I did, the first time I ever heard the Maha Mantra was with a group called the Fugs, which maybe only Dayananda Prabhu might know who they were. And they were the nastiest, that they made Frank Zappa look like an angel. They were just, I think they're very intelligent people, but they were very super sarcastic, making fun of everything, using dirty language. But then all of a sudden, I was bathing my consciousness in all of this, black nectar. And when they were singing, all the young people, we like to hear that kind of stuff, anti-establishment at that time in the 60s, and then all of a sudden I heard this, Hare Krishna. Of course, they had a very special way of singing it, but they sang it for like 5 minutes on this one recording. But because they were who they are, and I was who I was, there was no real effect. I mean, this might have been some little benefit, some little seed was planted in my consciousness. But if it's given properly, just like medicine, Srila Prabhupada gave a classic example. If you go into a pharmacy and you have a disease, and you look, that's a beautiful green bottle. Give me some of that for my, whatever. No, but what do you have? Oh, it doesn't matter. That bottle, it's really beautiful. And so, will the pharmacist give it to you? No. Because you have to have the prescription. So the prescription for chanting Hare Krishna is the desire for spiritual success, sincerity. If you're really sincere and you want to advance spiritually, it's like if you're sincere about anything, then you will mold your life, your activities in such a way that becomes a reality. Like if you want to be a athlete, you can't just sit around and drink Coca-Cola and eat potato chips and watch television all day and then go run maybe somebody could do that, but most people could not go run a mile, record mile, or ski the K2 or something like that. But if you accept the conditions, training and this and that, and then it becomes more of a possibility. So nowadays, unfortunately, many and maybe even most people who offer spiritual alternatives, they offer, just like if you go, like if somebody wants to buy gold, but you've never even seen gold in your life, and then you go to some, back street in some strange place with a city, and say, do you have gold? Oh yeah, I have cheap gold. My gold is much cheaper than anybody else's gold. Yeah, sure, I'll sell you an ounce for $50. I got special gold. They bring out some plastic, something painted with gold paint, and then you thought you had gold. So also spirituality, we have to look for the best quality of spirituality. The best quality, and the best quality is that which gives the greatest amount of success in the least amount of time. And just like I was mentioning, sometimes I see different spiritual groups and people, they do bhajans and kirtans, and I see people swooning, to the music, and their emotions are surcharged. But the real test is, spirituality is supposed to be, especially in the chanting of the Maha Mantra, which is according to the ancient Vedas, which are the most authoritative. It's written in the Sanskrit language. Sanskrit is so accurate that NASA uses it as their computer language. It's much better than any other language. And they have the mathematical part. Whatever they need language for, they use Sanskrit. And so you get the most ancient culture with the most perfect language. It's not coming from primitive people who evolved from monkeys. One time Srila Prabhupada was speaking to a scientist, and he was saying, we have evolved. And Prabhupada said, evolution is evolution of consciousness. Back and forth for a while. And then he said, no, we have come from the monkey. And Prabhupada said, I think that you have come from the monkey. I have come from God. And so scientists kind of shut up and started listening. Prabhupada made just really impacted him that somebody could say that. And so anyway, the Maha Mantra is really the best instrument for spiritual advancement. And how does the Maha Mantra really become implanted in our hearts? And the way is exactly what we're doing now, which is called Shravanam, hearing. We try to hear about what does the Maha Mantra mean? It is the name of Krishna. Who is Krishna? Krishna means the most beautiful, attractive person. We all, the whole movie industry, the whole, magazines, pictures, everything based on beautiful people. Generally speaking, you don't find, people modeling clothes, somebody with no teeth, and 2-3 days growth, a beard or something, a bad haircut, and you won't find that. You'll find try to make something here very wonderful, very beautiful. So we look for beauty. Beauty is attractive, and wealth is attractive, and strength. People who are very powerful, either physically powerful, mentally powerful, very intelligent people, very renounced people, Mother Teresa, and this one and that one, Srila Prabhupada for us, and many other great saints in our line. Some of them only slept 1 or 2 hours a day, not because they were depriving themselves of sleep, but because they were so spiritually enlivened that sleep was not interesting. And that high level of spirituality allowed them to go beyond the limits, the normal human limits. Of course, we're not recommending that everybody should go out and sleep 2 hours a day and eat 1 palmful of food. But the point is that as we advance spiritually, then by a natural process of displacement, the many of the things that we, they're almost like addiction. Because, when you have a society based on greed and consumption, we were talking about this today, then, people try to shove as many things down your throat as they can in a nice way. And but when you actually displace that, inordinate desire for unnecessary things with spiritual fulfillment, then it's a natural process. And we have all gone through this natural process of fulfillment in different ways. Just like children, you try to you give a 1-year-old child, you give them a toy, and then that toy, you try to take it away from them and see what happens. Hamper fit, just completely, they go crazy. But then you give them a different toy, more sophisticated toy when they're a year older, give it up. And then they get a bicycle, give up the toy. Then they get a car, give up the bicycle. And then, on and on. And so we've already gone through this process of displacement. Sometimes it's called renunciation. But real renunciation means that you get something better. The technical term for that is param drishva nivartate in our Bhagavad Gita. It means when you get a higher taste, naturally you give up the lower taste. Just like if you're eating rice every day because you have no money, you can only afford rice and some beans, and that's it. And somebody comes along with a double chocolate cheesecake with, some nice whipped cream on top. And, what are you going to do? Oh, I just want rice. No, you immediately, yeah. And once you take that double chocolate cheesecake with whipped cream and blueberries, then, you won't want to go back to rice and beans every day. You say, hey, I've got a higher taste. Of course, health-wise, that may not be so advisable. But so the point is that the Maha Mantra, the chanting of the Maha Mantra, by a gradual spiritual process, a gradual spiritual elevation, brings us to the point where unnecessary and things that aren't needed, because a consumer society means I have to sell you something at any cost. It doesn't matter if you need it or not. I have to create the psychological need in your mind, and then you'll buy it, and then I make money, and somebody else will lose money. Actually, the whole idea of non-consumptionism, of just like Mahatma Gandhi, he said something very wise. He was known in India as a politician among saints and a saint among politicians. So he said that if everybody tries to get what they want, there's not enough for one person in the whole universe. But if everybody takes what they need, then there's more than enough for everyone. So this is what Krishna taught. This principle was there thousands of years ago, and it was written down 5,000 years ago in the Sri Ishupanishad. And it says that, I won't repeat the Sanskrit, but it basically says that the Supreme Lord is the source of everything. Everything belongs to him. And if everybody should understand what their quota is, which is very different. The quota of an ant is, a little grain of sugar. He's perfectly happy. He or she or they, be gender proper. No, they're very happy like that. But an elephant needs, 60, 70, 100 kilos a day. But there's enough for everyone. A king needs a palace. A simple person who works in an agricultural field maybe needs a little small place to live in. Doesn't need something very elaborate. So if everyone really takes what they need, there's more than enough for everyone. But the best way to provide, just like if you please someone, and this is a universal principle. If you please someone, they are very, they're happy to give you what you need to fulfill your whatever you want, because you pleased them. Just like if somebody has a dog, you say, "Oh, what a cute little dog you have." "Oh, yeah," immediately you're friends. But if you say, "Look at that mutt," where did you get that from? Some science fiction movie, or what is it? A combination of 18 different animals over 50 years, the most horrible looking dog I've ever, then you won't be. So if we please someone, this principle of pleasing someone is called service. And if we provide that service to the person who can provide everything, just like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam bhavantate." Everything material and spiritual comes from me. So in that sense, who should we be pleasing? We should be pleasing the person who can give us the most important thing, the only thing that will last, which is spiritual consciousness. The only thing that can really accompany it, the only thing that you can increase even after leaving this body. And it can give you also everything you need materially. But sometimes when Krishna sees that we don't need something and we're hankering for it, then he'll give it to us and until we realize that we don't need it, and then give us some intelligence. If we're trying to be, we're trying, we understand the concept, we're a little weak, so he makes the arrangements to get us to the point where he can give us what we want. But the more we try to please him, then the quicker it happens, the quicker we learn that spirituality is the most important thing in life. And then whatever I need to be comfortable, happy materially, and minimal. Minimal doesn't mean I'm suffering. Minimal means that I have a certain amount of energy. And just like going back to the example of a budding athlete or a budding musician. So they will utilize the major part of their time in sports or music. They won't be thinking, well, I have to go to Walmart and buy this, and I have to go here, and I like this and that, because that is their goal. So in our Krishna consciousness movement, we try to inform people and help them understand that the most important thing that we need is Krishna, is the Supreme, is our connection, because that connection is eternal. We were talking about that today. It's technically called Sambandha, understanding who is the Supreme, what are their characteristics, who am I, what is our relationship, what is this world for? Just like one time I was in Colombia, and very wealthy lady's house. She had her friends over, all like pretty wealthy people. And so I started talking about, how we should try to avoid suffering. And then, at the end they said, well, she said, I'm not suffering very much. And I said, oh, but I noticed that you have a big fence around your house. Why is that? Keep out unwanted people. You mean thieves or poor people that don't have enough? So are they as happy? Are they materially happy as you are? And then I said, do you get sick? Yeah. So that's not suffering. Do you sometimes want something and you can't have it? Yes. Is that not suffering? Well, yeah. And I went over about 10 other possibilities. I said, well, yeah, maybe I do suffer. I said, do you believe in God? Yes. God's given me all this. But God didn't give that to that Chinaman out in some rice field. He didn't give the same house. No. So we should try to understand, why is there this disproportionate, distribution of goods? And I said, do you think that God wants you to be happy? Yes. Well then, if God wants you to be happy and you think that happiness comes from living a materially happy life, why doesn't everybody have the same as you have? If God is that potent to do that. We started thinking about it. Well, I really don't know. Well, because that's not his purpose. If God's purpose is to make everyone materially happy, he could do it just like that. But that doesn't reach the essence of our existence. The essence of our existence is spiritual. And therefore, to bring out that spirituality, this life is like a lesson to understand I am a spiritual being. And that spirituality is the essence. Just like if you go to the gas station, you fill up your car and then you don't, open your mouth. Well, let me fill up too. Because our intake is very different. So you can't expect that what fulfills the needs of my body will fulfill the needs of the soul. And the needs of the soul are much greater. Just like for the car, you put in some oil, some gasoline, take it to the mechanic every once in a while, it functions. But you have to eat every day proteins, carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals, and it's much more complex. So the more complex an entity is, the more neat, the more complex the process of feeding is. But the beauty of spirituality is it's very simple. And it's the degree of complexity to achieve spiritual success only depends on the degree of psychological attachment and addiction that we have to something that interferes with that very simple connection with the Supreme, or this, what we call sambandha. So we have to work on that. That's the purpose of this Krishna consciousness movement. So this particular day, Srila Prabhupada, our founder, who brought this philosophy to the West and then, reshaped it and took it back to India and actually brought it to the whole world, because it came from India, but it was like a treasure locked up in a chest. It wasn't that well known. And now millions and millions of people in India are practicing very fervently because they didn't understand before. Sometimes India is like a potpourri of spiritual processes. You can just, anything you want, there's somebody that will offer it to you. Because it's a very spiritual place, but when people deviate from that precise spiritual science, then you get all kinds of permeations and transformations of spirituality. One of our greatest spiritual guides and spiritual masters, which is the third from the right, going left, is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And he said there's only one religion, which is called Jaiva Dharma. The duty, the intrinsic nature of the soul. And that intrinsic nature of the soul is to be blissful. So real spirituality means that which makes the soul blissful and increases anandam buddhivardhanam. And that increase, according to Lord Chaitanya, is done by the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, the amount of religion, of different religions we have in this world, is proportionate to the degree of the deviation from that simple, pure spiritual relationship of the soul with the super soul, the soul with God. When that relationship is 100%, that is Jaiva Dharma. That is the natural condition of the soul. And he gave it as an example, water. Just like water in its natural condition is liquid. But if you apply cold, then it becomes ice. But to maintain ice, you have to keep the water in an unnatural condition. Of course, unless you live in Alaska or Siberia or northern Siberia, then it may be a permanent condition. But for most people, they have trouble drinking ice. So you want to bring water to its natural condition. So this world of matter, according to the third law of thermodynamics, matter has a tendency to disperse. So the nature of this world is always changing, transmutation of matter. Everything's always changing. And the nature of the soul is permanence. The nature of the soul is Satchit Ananda. It's permanent, full of knowledge, and full of bliss. And so because that's the nature of the soul, we try to achieve those things with the body and the mind. We try to be secure, put a couple locks on the door, alarm system, and safety belts, and face masks, and guns, and missiles, atomic weapons. That makes us secure. It really makes us secure. I remember when I was a kid, and he remembers, the Cold War, when we were young, we had drills in school where they would just sound a siren and you all had to get up on the floor and go like this or get under your desk or, And, of course, what would probably really happen is the whole building would get blown away. But they try to make you feel good. Just like in the airplane, they say, in case of a crash, you sit like this. And what do? You go like this. Of course, when the plane hits the ground and gets torn apart, that won't help a whole lot. But they try to make you feel good about it. So the insecure position of the body in this world, and then try to give you knowledge. We have the internet, Like everything I ever read on the internet, if I look at the next site, I find somebody that has a totally different opinion. So it doesn't really solve things. And as far as bliss, we've accepted the lowest grade, the lowest quality, the lowest grade of happiness. Because the soul is so desirous, so anxious for that bliss that it takes anything. Just like if you're really hungry, you'll grab something out of the garbage. Just like in Venezuela, the last time I went, which, it's just been kind of going downhill materially. Saw people rooting through the garbage. They people like in a nice shirt, nice pants, rooting through the garbage. Now it's gotten a little better, but in the last few months, they're trying a little harder. But if you're really hungry, you'll eat anything. So if the soul is so hungry for that bliss, it will accept the paltry happiness of, going to the movie, or some other things, or eating. People eat. Many people become too overweight because they eat too much because they're trying to get some pleasure from something that doesn't give you satisfying pleasure. When you eat, there's actually a very beautiful verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this Srimad Bhagavatam right here. And it says, when you have bhakti or pure spiritual consciousness, it gives you, first thing it does, it gives you spiritual pleasure. The second thing, Paraisha Anubhava, it gives you spiritual nourishment. You feel like knowledge and understanding, and it gives you like a real foundation in spirituality. And then the next thing is virakti. It gradually detaches you from unnecessary things. Just like eating. First thing you do, it tastes great. Then you feel strength, and then the hunger goes away. But the difference is the hunger comes back. But when you have natural displacement or detachment from unnecessary things, it doesn't come back. As long as you keep nourishing yourself spiritually, and the nourishment increases, the pleasure increases, and the detachment increases, all simultaneously. So this is the beauty of the science of Krishna consciousness. Consciousness means the connection of the soul with some object. It's like if I'm conscious of my knee, my soul, the energy, that consciousness is connecting with the knee. Oh, my knee hurts. I've been sitting like this too long, or my leg hurts. And then I'll change my position. And that's what we're doing for our happiness. We're just changing our positions in this world. I'll go here, I'll get this job, I'll do this, I'll study more, I'll get another degree, and then I'll be happy. But that's not real happiness. It doesn't satisfy us. So that's what we recommend. And the beauty of Krishna consciousness, and especially of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, is you can do it anytime and anywhere. You can maintain spiritual consciousness. Not only can you, but it helps you to weather the most difficult moments of your life. And there's always difficult moments, right? Yeah, you lose your girlfriend or boyfriend, or somebody dies. These difficult moments come about, and so what do? We lament, and then people come, pat us on the back, say, "Well, it's too bad," and then you kind of get over it. You go, and then you get to the next disappointment, and the next disappointment. Because if there weren't disappointments, no one would be here. if material life was just ever increasing happiness at every moment, why would you look for some alternative? But the fact is that there are so many difficulties in life. And that's just like when we go to school. It's an educational process. So, it's one challenge after another. First you have to learn 2 and 2 is 4. Okay. 4 and 4 is 8. You get all that together. The addition, subtraction, multiplication, division tables. Then you go to the next challenge. Okay, now geometry. Oh, now algebra. Oh, now calculus. Oh, now this. And in another field, you start reading, Mary Has a Little Lamb, and then Little Red Riding Hood, and then you go to this, and then you get to, like complex philosophical literatures, Kant, and, all these really deep philosophers. And then you finally figure out that they're very good at analyzing problems, but not very good at giving solutions. Because I've read a lot of these philosophers, and I've never really found any real solution. They analyze things. Whoa, they're expert at analyzing all these problems. But they don't really give solutions. Or the solution that they give is more temporary than the problem itself. So the problem comes back. So the whole purpose is that Srila Prabhupada came here on this day we're celebrating that. We celebrate when he was born, and we celebrate every day his teachings. But on the day of his disappearance, we celebrate what he's left us, the treasure house of spiritual knowledge, the treasure house of spiritual practice. And so on this day, it's a wonderful day to reflect what is the real purpose of life, and to be very grateful and take advantage of someone like Srila Prabhupada, who crossed the ocean in a boat, and it wasn't like the Queen Mary. It was like a freighter, and he had a little room, and he was seasick the whole way, and he had 2 heart attacks, and undaunted by it, he knew he wanted to come and give us something. So the greatest people in this world are the people who want to give us something with no desire or expectation of return. And the greatest person that does that is Krishna. Krishna doesn't need our service. Krishna doesn't need anything from us. But he comes. He says in Bhagavad Gita, yada yada hi dharmasha. Whenever there is a need for increasing religion or decreasing irreligiosity or negativity, then I come. And if he doesn't come personally, he sends someone. So he sent Srila Prabhupada to give us spiritual science and to give us the most beautiful, easy, practical process of chanting the holy name of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. So on this particular day, let us meditate a little bit on this wonderful gift that we've received. Not like Christmas, where you get some presents and you're enthused for like a week or two, then you put whatever you got away in the closet. My new pair of socks with the other 47 pairs that I got on my last birthday, Christmas. We don't forget about my new shirt or coat or dress or whatever, and I wear it for the first, second, third time. Then go to the next one. But to get the gift, with which the gift itself increases and expands automatically. So this is what Krishna consciousness is. It's a very simple, sublime, wonderful process. And it's not even a process, it's really a relationship with the Supreme Person, with Krishna. But it's a process as long as it needs to be a process. Otherwise, sometimes we need a process to get to a certain point, just like playing the piano. When you start out, it's a process. It's like do, 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 do. And you play it, and you do this, and you do that. But then after you learn, it's just, it flows. It's beautiful. It's pleasure, pure pleasure. You're playing, and it's so wonderful. You're happy. So at one point, it's a process, and then it becomes something very wonderful, something very pleasing. So Krishna consciousness is that way. And just as Srila Prabhupada had the patience, the tolerance, and the determination to bring this and give it to all of us, we should have the similar patience, determination, and desire to receive it. And then it will become very meaningful in our life. So these are just some points, basic points of Krishna consciousness I wanted to share. And any question, comment? We have a very knowledgeable people here. They just let me speak, just like sometimes, you let the dog out or something. And so they let me speak. But Dayananda Prabhu, one of our oldest devotees in the movement, Navina Nirada Prabhu is visiting us for a few days. And, I hope that he'll be giving some talks to the
book
congregation
distribution
here
on Saturday.
And he's one of the most accomplished transmitters of Krishna consciousness, going out and giving these books, transcendental literature, so that people will become enlightened, and teaching others how to do that, and teaching from those books, enlivening people. So that's what we do as devotees of Krishna. We just try to give the most important thing that people can be happy with. Any questions? Any questions from the audience there? Let me see.
There's 10 joining online.
Okay.
What inspired him to come up with the mantra?
I don't know. How do you make this?
I have a question.
All right.
This is a whole different setup here.
What
Yeah.
inspired the mantra?
What?
What inspired the mantra?
What inspires mantras?
What inspired?
Where did it come
Maha mantra.
Oh, where did the mantra come from? It's eternal. Mantra is made of the names of Krishna, who's eternal. So his name is eternal. It's not like Krishna was born and somebody gave him a name, like us, like, Scott or Fred or Mary. Or, we all have to, and we'll have that name for 30, 40, 70, 80 years, 100 years, and it's gone. But Krishna, everything about Krishna is eternal. His name, his form, his attributes, his activities, it's all eternal. So the name is there eternally. And therefore, when we say his name, we're connected to it by repeating that name. And the more sincerity and determination we have when we chant the mantra, then the more effect it will have.
And what is your definition of Krishna consciousness?
It means, just like I said, when I have a pain in my knee, I have knee consciousness. So when I direct my consciousness to the Supreme, and I understand who that Supreme is, what does he look like? What does he do? What is he like? And the more I understand those things about that Supreme Person, that increases my Krishna consciousness. It just means understanding, just like if you have a wife or a husband, a girlfriend, a child, the more you get to know that person, the more your love increases, the more the communion between the two increases. Just like in the Catholic Church, they have communion. And you go and you take the host and that's supposed to bring you in touch. You're in touch with a sacred object. So the most sacred object is the holy name of Krishna, because it's reaching out to us, and therefore it can surround us with spirituality. It can penetrate and permeate our very being and connect us with the Supreme.
So everything on this whole
Everything what? I'm sorry, didn't bring my hearing apparatus.
is like everything Krishna then.
Is everything Krishna?
Yes. Well, everything is within Krishna. No? We're also within there. We just have to realize it. There's a verse in one of our scriptures says, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhyuka Vainoy. That this is something that is eternally existing within us. It's part of the soul. It's just that we have to awaken it. It's already there. But sometimes awakening is more difficult than acquiring. Because acquiring something, you just buy it and you have it. But to awaken something that's been covered over for ions, for eons of time, and for, who knows how many lives we've passed in this world, how many experiences we've been through. And each one of those, when they're unrelated to Krishna, it covers our understanding and our knowledge about Krishna. So we're just uncovering, it's uncovering. And therefore, we have a mantra which we follow, which is Chetodarpana Marjanam, cleansing the mirror of the heart. The heart is like a mirror. Inside of our heart, where the Lord is situated, we can see ourselves perfectly. But the dust, like in a mirror, if you have dust, you can't see yourself properly. You clean the dust off and you can see perfectly. So the dust, in the form of attachments, in the form of greed and anger and frustration and lust and illusion and madness. Even people, we become purposely mad. People drink and they take intoxicants and drink, but try to become mad. Why? Because we're not happy. If I'm happy and I'm satisfied, I don't have to become mad. So even madness, we look for madness. We're so desperate to be happy that we try to find it through madness. Let me become mad, and the madder I can become, the happier I'll be, at least until the next morning when you get a headache, or whatever, or you have to pay for the substances, which usually increase the need for them increases. So, it's right, it's there, it's cheap, it's free. It's free, meaning monetarily it's free, but it requires that we give up a little bit of our ego, thinking that I'm the supreme, I'm the most important, I'm the greatest. And I used to think that way. Probably I still do, but I used to think, I could do that, but I just don't want to. Whenever I saw somebody do something better than me, so I remember one taxi driver I had, and he said, "Yeah, I like to drive a taxi." And I was actually, I could do so many things, but I like to drive a taxi. Okay, I said, that sounds really logical. You could be a wealthy billionaire, but instead of that, you'd rather drive a taxi. So that's understandable. I think he caught my message. So.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay, is that from Facebook?
This is from our Zoom session.
Why can't I see that here?
Because it was sent privately.
Huh?
So it was sent privately. I guess they want to remain anonymous.
Oh, okay. Okay.
How do we give up on sleeping for too long?
Awaken our consciousness. Sleeping is generally too much sleep is caused by boredom. Of course, it can be caused by overeating or bad habits, So the more we improve our habits, improve our eating, the quality of our eating, we eat healthy, that can help. But the main thing is, the more we awaken our consciousness, we don't want to sleep. The more you're awake, and that awakened state gives you pleasure and bliss and happiness, then you don't want to sleep. And therefore, as I was mentioning, these great saintly persons, 6 Swamis, they would sleep 1 or 2 hours a day. Not because they were trying not to sleep. They were so happy in their spiritual enlightenment that they forgot to sleep. Even sometimes politicians are very, result-driven people. They'll sleep 3-4 hours a day, but after a while they break down. But a spiritually conscious person can go on and on because that spiritual energy is substituting some of the things that they need, would need normally from the material platform.
Second question. How to give without expecting something in return from a person? How do we give to people without expecting something in return?
Because service is the product of love. When the more that love increases, that just like someone who has a small child, I give this example many times. You have a 3-month-old child, the child that will cry at 1 o'clock in the morning, and because you feel such an intense love, you don't mind getting up. You don't yell at the child, "I'm sorry, my hours are 9 to 5. I'll be glad to take care of you at 9 in the morning, but I'm sorry. No, right now I can't do it." No. The more the love is there, then the more the desire to serve is there. So, because modern conception of love is based on self-interest and self-satisfaction, it's not really love, it's commerce. It's commerce with some sentiments, some feelings. There's some love there, but the love is incomplete, and therefore it becomes commercial love. I'll give you this, but you give me that, and you give me some money, I'll give you this. It's all interchange. So when love becomes complete, then the service attitude becomes perfect, and you don't require anything because you're satisfied. If you're satisfied, you don't require.
Third question. No. Yeah, we've already answered that. He's asking what bad habits make a person sleep a lot. We already answered that. That's it, brother. Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. My son Murari has a question.
Okay, great. Feel free.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. How does Krishna take what we offer?
What was that again?
How does Krishna take what we offer?
How does he take what we offer? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, because he's transcendental, he can accept anything. Just like we ourselves have some experience of that. If someone cooks a really good pizza or cake or something, just by seeing it, we begin to experience pleasure. So in the same way, Krishna can eat with his eyes, but he doesn't just eat with his eyes like we do. We feel okay, that looks great, but we have to taste it to make the experience complete. But Krishna accepts anything that we offer with love and devotion. Of course, it has, when you offer something with love, just like if I offer someone roses, but they're allergic to them, that wouldn't be a good offering. So if we offer Krishna a T-bone steak, then he won't be happy because he says, I don't want that. I don't want you to kill animals and offer them to me. Even in the Bible, God says that. So what to speak of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and Vedic literatures. So Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam Yome Bhakta Prayachati. He says, even if you offer me a little water or, even a piece of cactus, like in Mexico, they love cactus. So it tastes good too, nopales. And, if you offer me a leaf, water, a flower, I'll be happy to take it. And because he doesn't need anything. So Krishna is accepting our love. And he also accepts the object because everything's coming from him. And therefore everything goes back to him, either by a natural process of expansion and retraction, or by his devotee offering him a flower or a palace or whatever. But for Krishna, just like one time, Krishna went to a city called Mithila, and there were two devotees. One was the king Bahulasva, and the other one was the Brahmin Shrutadev. So the king Bahulashva had a huge palace. He invited Krishna to come and sit on big silk pillows and be served the most wonderful refreshments. And he spoke to him very beautifully. And Shrutadev was a poor priest, Brahmin. He had nothing. He gave him a little mat, gave Krishna a little mat and some water. And Krishna was just as pleased with both of them, the palatial offering or the water, because it was done with the same degree of love. So because Krishna doesn't need anything, but he wants our love, and therefore he reaches out in the form of offering us this opportunity to connect with him through devotional service.
We have another question.
Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Sure.
Why do we need a living guru? Why not only just take Srila Prabhupada as a guru? Why do we have to have a living guru? Really big question.
First of all, the process of accepting a guru, you may accept, but the guru has to accept you. So Srila Prabhupada, when he was here, whenever someone wanted to be initiated by him, he would get a letter. And he would say, I accept them as my disciple. But in some cases, someone would say, Prabhupada, he's not ready. Oh, then let him become prepared. Especially for the second initiation. Prabhupada became stricter as time went on. He said, in the beginning, we have been liberal, but now we must be more careful. So that kind of decision can only be made by a person to whom you are communicating. So a living guru, and not only that, we do accept everyone in this Krishna consciousness movement, in our version of the Krishna consciousness movement, has direct access to Srila Prabhupada. And you can get 50%, 60%, 80%, or 100%. But everything that Prabhupada said is subject to the interpretation of your mind and your senses and your desires and your prejudices and your preconceptions. So the duty of the guru is to take the knowledge which is descending from the chain of disciplic succession and make it relevant to you, and also to make sure that you understood it. So it's not only that you're accepting a spiritual master, but you're accepting many devotees and Vaishnavas around who are also helping you to keep your focus, to make sure your understanding is proper and complete. So the guru is really part of a package, and the rest of the package is called Sadhu Sangha, or the association of Vaishnavas. So with the instructions of the guru and the association of the Vaishnavas, we can be pretty sure that we understand what we're supposed to do. But the most important part is, will I do it? Because, of course, in English we say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So even if all that is there, even many direct disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they wandered off or they're not practicing. So the most important thing is to follow. And if we follow Srila Prabhupada, he spoke about parampara, he spoke about the importance of accepting a guru, the importance of examining the guru, the importance of the guru examining you. So all these things are part of the process. And therefore, a living guru is required. Of course, we're not saying that living guru is a substitute for Srila Prabhupada or anywhere near the same level. It could be, probably not. But we are saying that if you want to understand Srila Prabhupada, just like if you want to understand Krishna, well, Srila Prabhupada is one of the best sources of understanding Krishna. For me, he's the best. For anyone. But to make sure you understand Prabhupada, then you need someone who helps you to understand Srila Prabhupada's teachings. Srila Prabhupada, we have all these books here, everything you read, but not everything is relevant to everyone at any given moment in time. So the guru helps you to see, therefore scriptures are like a map. And the guru is like the guide that tells you the best route to take, according to your nature, according to your abilities, according to your level of understanding, according to your habits. So that's the reason why living guru is so important. Not only living guru, we chant the mantra, Vandeham Shri Guru, Shri Gurum. That there's the guru, and there are many other gurus, Shiksha gurus, those people who teach us on a daily basis, those people who become the most relevant spiritual persons with whom we have spiritual interaction in our lives. So this is all part of the process. Yes.
You mentioned, and I understand that you shouldn't or you cannot offer Tibo steak to Krishna. But as I've read this before in chapter 9, verse 27.
Which verse?
Chapter 9, verse 27.
Yeah.
It says, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me.
Yeah.
So
what does he say in the previous verse?
I don't know.
He says, Patram Pushpam. So, he says, offer leaf. Otherwise, he's saying vegetables, fruits, milk, grains, water. These are the things that I want. And there's other places in the scriptures where Krishna elaborates more on what is offerable and what is not offerable. Because for Krishna, he also says, we say a mantra which comes from the Vedas, that Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. It says that Krishna is very fond of the cows and the Brahmins, or the people who dedicate their lives to him. And therefore, we should understand, just like anybody, if you invite somebody over for dinner, you don't, and it turns out they're vegan, and you have, a hamburger for them, they won't be pleased. No, they won't eat it because they're vegans. So Krishna, if Krishna was saying, I want, offer me goat meat, then we would immediately offer Krishna goat meat. So we offer Krishna what he wants, just like you would do with anybody. So we just should understand, what does Krishna want? And Krishna really says what he wants is our devotion. So it's just a question of that. Love means wanting to serve the person in the best way that I love. The person I love, I want to serve them in the best way possible.
If someone wants to eat meat,
by understanding what they like, what they want. Just that's what love means.
if a person wants to eat meat, who did they offer it to then? If someone were to eat meat, not you per se, but let's say me, I don't necessarily have a vegetarian diet per se, and if I eat meat, who should I offer? How should I offer? Who should I offer it to?
Who do we offer? What we offer to Krishna?
Meat. If someone eats meat
Uh-huh.
How do they offer it?
They
What do
don't. Well, they offer it to their stomach. No, they offer it to their taste. No, they offer it to, even in the Vedas, there are injunctions that say, if you want to eat meat, you can offer to the goddess Kali. But then you have to chant a mantra. And that mantra is, you're saying to the goat or the whatever fish or whatever it is, I'm taking your life and you have the right to take my life. So, if you think about it, that's not a very good deal. I get a meal, and for that meal, you can come and kill me. So better I offer some broccoli or,
We have one more question. How is Jesus Christ for Hare Krishna devotees?
Who is he, or how do we see him? How do we see him?
How is he for us, I guess?
Yeah.
How is he relevant to us?
He's the Son of God. We see Jesus Christ as the Son of God. Just that in the Vedas, there are many sons of God. Even Christ himself says that all of you are pillars in the house of my Father, and you go out. So he himself says there are many who should all become sons of God. He doesn't say he's the only one. So we understand that way. But we understand also that Jesus Christ is a Shaktavesh avatar, which means he was especially empowered to give God consciousness to a great part of the world. And that Shaktavesh avatar means that someone becomes God by God gives them a certain potency to exhibit. And Christ was given that potency of being the Son of God and transmitting the message of God. So we see him as the Son of God. Srila Prabhupada said, Christ is our guru. He's teaching us. And when you study the Vedic scriptures or you study the Bible, the teachings are basically the same. What are the teachings? That, what does Christ say? Love God above all other things. That's called bhakti. When the most important thing in your life is loving God, that's devotion. So it's the same teaching. It's just that Christ himself said, I have many things to give you, but you have not the eyes to see nor the ears to hear. He was saying there's more. There's more. And he gave, just like in school, one teacher, he may be he or she, they may be a PhD, but if they're teaching fourth graders, they will give a fourth grade education. They have so much more knowledge, but they can't give it because the audience is not. So the Christ audience was fishermen,
Bandits.
Nomads, people who had very difficult lives and difficult times. And who was Krishna's audience? A highly advanced, pure devotee. And his other audience was Uddhava, who was an intimate devotee and friend of Krishna, who was highly advanced in spiritual knowledge and spiritual culture. So Krishna could teach them more. And and knowledge about Krishna and knowledge about spirituality is unlimited. And we will, this Krishna consciousness movement, as far as I've seen, gives the highest degree of spiritual understanding. It's not that it's any different, it's just that it's more. So if you have more of something in a difficult materialistic age, it helps us to offset the influence of this materialistic age.
Last question for the evening, just still in relation to Jesus. How does Jesus know that he's the Son of God?
This is from Murari.
This is from Murari,
Uh-huh.
Nitikishori's son.
How does he know? He knows because he was told. Otherwise, how does Krishna know that he's God? He's eternally God. So someone who is the eternal servant of the Lord, they know their position. Just like in Krishna consciousness, we have Krishna and Radha. Radha knows that she is the most intimate servant of Krishna. And Krishna knows that she is my most dedicated servant. And that's eternal. That's the nature of eternal relation. It's not that someone becomes the son of God out of nowhere, but we can become sons of God. And when we do, we will know it. If you think, well, maybe I am, maybe I'm not, most likely you're not. But when it happens, you'll know it.
Okay, so I guess now we could do Damodarastakam.
Okay.
This is a very auspicious month. It's called the month of Kartik. So every night we offer a lamp to Krishna. We make some prayers, some offering. So we could probably stream this live. Can you mute me on that computer, please? So that way you can speak on this one. I don't know if they can hear me. Okay, so now we're gonna do Damodarastakam. I don't know if y'all would still like to stay on. We're gonna stream it live for everybody. So thank you so much for participating. Also tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. we're gonna have another Srimad Bhagavatam class. So we'll conclude with Damodarastakam right now. Just give us 1 minute as we set things up. Sit on the ground there. It's easy.
You want
And then we'll have a little, I think. So what we'll do is you'll see some of us will offer a candle to the altar. If you like, you can put a candle there, but the altar.
do this sitting down. Position is proper. This. Something that's like right down here. Like this.
Get you another cushion. This is one of those.
You can kind of fold that up, go down here. Keep this end up a little bit. Like that. Yeah, that's
To the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge, and bliss, whose shark-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautifully shining in the divine realm of Gokula, who, due to the offense of breaking the pot of yogurt that his mother was churning into butter and then stealing the butter that was kept hanging from the swing, is quickly running from the wooden grinding mortar in fear of his mother Yashoda, but who has been caught from behind by her, who ran after him with greater speed to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Damodar, I offer my humble obeisances.
Seeing the whipping stick in his mother's hand, he's crying and rubbing his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes are filled with fear, and the necklace of pearls around his neck, which is marked with 3 lines like a conch shell, is shaking because of his quick breathing due to crying. To the Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, whose belly is bound not with ropes, but with his mother's pure love, I offer my humble obeisance.
By such childhood pastimes as this, he is drowning the inhabitants of Gokul in full ecstasy, and is revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and opulence that he is only conquered by devotees whose pure love is imbued with intimacy and is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. With great love, I again offer my obeisances to Lord Damodar hundreds and hundreds of times.
Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for the boon of impersonal liberation, of eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon which may be obtained by executing the 9 processes of bhakti. O Lord, I simply wish that this form of yours as Bala Gopal in Vrindavan may ever be manifest in my heart, for what is the use to me of any other boon besides this?
O Lord, your lotus face, which is encircled by locks of soft black hair tinged with red, is kissed again and again by Mother Yashoda. Your lips are reddish like the bimbo fruit. May this beautiful vision of your lotus face be ever manifest in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me.
Supreme Godhead, I offer my obeisances unto you. O Damodar, O Ananta, O Vishnu, O Master, O my Lord, be pleased upon me by showering your glance of mercy upon me. Deliver this poor ignorant fool who is immersed in an ocean of worldly sorrows and become visible to my eyes.
Lord Damodar, just as the 2 sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Nalakumbara, were delivered from the curse of Narada and made into great devotees by you in your form as a baby tied with rope to a wooden grinding mortar. In the same way, please give me your own karma bhakti. I only long for this and have no desire for any kind of liberation.
What number? Lord Damodar, I first of all offer my obeisances to the brilliantly effulgent rope which binds your belly. I then offer my obeisances to your belly, which is the abode of the entire universe. I humbly bow down to your most beloved Srimati Radharani, and I offer all obeisances to you, the Supreme Lord, who displays unlimited pastimes. Yeah. So we'll be streaming tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. It's the same passcode. It's 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Right now it's 8:14 p.m. So I guess you can figure out what time that is in your area. But we'll have Bhagavatam, the verses 7 to 25. Thank you so much. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Hare Krishna.